Okay, I want to do something called a showcasing, and hopefully I can get the volume right on this. I feel like I've been talking too loud in a lot of these videos, so I'm going to try to talk at a more normal tone of voice, and hopefully it picks up okay. This is Dead of Winter, a game by Isaac Vega and John Gilmore, and they've also got a sequel called Dead of Winter: The Long Night, I believe, and they call this a Crossroads game. I really like some of the mechanisms in this game. First of all, let me talk about the theme. I think probably most people are familiar with this. By the way, it's put out by Plaid Hat Games. This is a post-apocalyptic, sort of like a Resident Evil, if you're familiar with that, or The Walking Dead, I suppose. So you've got zombies in this world, and then you've got a handful or two of survivors, depending on how many players are playing, who are attempting to forage for food, keep the zombies at bay, perhaps fortify their central command or their safe zone. Meanwhile, they have to travel to places like the library to research things, or to find out information, or to gather weapons at the police station, maybe, or medicine at the hospital, or something at the school, and something at the gas station, maybe fuel or something. Each one of those locations, I think there's 6, you can find something. You might be able to find a gun at any of them, though you're more likely to find a gun at the police station. However, you might find one at the gas station. Maybe the owner had a shotgun behind the counter or something. So these are done with cards, and there's a number of cards in the deck, which I'm going to show you. So let me open it up, and then I'll tell you a little about the game I played tonight with my son. We played a 2-player version. I hadn't played this before. First of all, let me just say that the game is very well made. This is all, feels like a little bit textured. It's glossy for sure. You might be able to get a look here. Not embossed, but there's a texture to it. Very nicely done, though. Everything came in plastic, so I left some of the stuff in plastic, like the game manual here, the rule book. They also offer a way you can go online and actually watch it, learn how to play it. And then you've got the board. I kept it in the plastic. Let me show you some of the things. You got stand-ups for all the heroes. So these are the heroes. Each one looks a little different. I put them in. And they look just like, there's a card for each one of them too. And then you've got zombies. There's 3 different types of zombies, all with stand-ups. And then you've got cards. Each one of these heroes then is represented by a card, such as this. They each have special abilities. The numbers here go from 10 up to, I think, 68. So this is a lower powered guy. Yeah. Though he can attack really easily, you have to roll a 6-sided die, and you'd have to roll at least a 1 to be able to attack, and at least a 4 to be able to explore. And you've got a deck of cards, and there's some for each area. Here is something called 2 Outsiders. So if you happen to find this card, you get to add the top card of the Survivor deck, which are those characters I showed you, and put their matching standee at the colony. Then I'll add 1 helpless survivor. These are just tokens that you use, just round tokens with their face, like it looks like that. And those people come to the colony. They don't help you at all. They're just kind of helpless, as it says. You got to feed them, though. So you don't really want a lot of those because, you got to feed them. But the Crossroads thing was really interesting. You get a deck of these cards. And these cards, I don't even think these are all of them. I think I took some out. I think it seems like there was more than this, bigger stack. I think there is. But anyway, these are interesting because each one of these has a story. And depending on whether or not you fulfill the story part of this at the top, then you do one of the 2 things that are following. And each turn you have these. So it begins to tell a little bit of a story about what's happening. And then every turn you have cards that, the crisis cards they're called. And what you must do there is overcome the crisis, or something bad will happen. So you may have to find extra food for some reason. It'll tell you, it basically tells you why you have to do it. You may have to find extra food. You may have to find some fuel. You may have to find some junk, to be able to assemble something. And if you don't do that, then you have to pay the consequences, and they're usually really bad. So make sure these things sit down in here nice, okay? So let me tell you about the experience we had playing Dead of Winter tonight, my son and I. Well, maybe I'll show you a couple more cards too while I'm talking. I'll tell you about that. Let's see here. Let's look at these cards for a minute. As long as I have your attention. If you haven't seen the game, I know for me, I like to kind of explore, what's going on in the game. To give you a sample of some of the characters. There's a character, Gabriel Diaz. He's 60, so he has a lot of influence. It only costs him 2 to be able to attack and 3 to be able to explore. Again, that's a dice roll of 2 or higher or 3 or higher. And once per round, when Gabriel is at a location with an item deck, you may reveal the top 4 cards of that item deck. If revealed any outsider cards, you may place one into your hand. Shuffle the remaining cards back into the item deck. So he's able to search for people and find them. Apparently, there's somebody. He is a janitor, Brandon Kane. Once per round, you may remove 5 cards instead of 3 from the waste pile when taking the clean waste action. So sometimes you have to clean the your headquarters can get really bad after a while if you don't clean them. If you don't clean it, so you have to clean up the trash. There would be food containers and so on. There's somebody else, a chemist, 44. These are all 4 higher to attack and 3 are higher to investigate something. Once per round, when performing an attack with Edward, you may play a medicine card to kill 3 zombies instead of just 1. You do not have to roll for exposure. Yeah. So exposure. Whenever you leave the compound or the safe zone there, your headquarters, to go to the gas station, the police station, any place, you have to roll a 12-sided die. And there are numerous spots that are blank. I think maybe 3. And then there's at least 2 or 3 spots that have wounds on them. And I think 2 or 3 spots that have frostbite symbol on it, because it is the winter. And then there's 1 of the 12 is a bite mark. If you get the bite mark, it means you've gotten ambushed by the zombies. And you've been bitten and you are dead. And you will infect other people at your same location unless we can get rid of you quickly. So there's things there. Now then, I didn't talk about this much, but you have a variety of these. These are mission cards. This is your overall objective. One's called We Need More Samples. Yeah, this is the one we beat tonight. And you've got 2 sides to every one of these. There's a regular side right here, and then there's a worse side here. So the regular side, I'll show you the regular side. We played the regular side. We were supposed to play the other side. We thought to start out we'll play the easy zone. So the morale starts at 6 and the round track starts at 6. You get 6 turns to accomplish this, basically. You add 1 zombie to all the non-colony locations, and every time a zombie is killed, roll a die. If the die result is a 4 or higher, add a zombie token to the objective. Accumulate 3 zombies on this main objective for each player that started the game. So we had 2 players, we need to get 6. Yeah. And here, actually, we did play this one. We played the harder one. We started the morale at 6 and the round at 5. We added 3 zombies to all the. Oh, that's what we didn't do. We only added 1 zombie to each of them instead of 3. We should have added 3. We only added 1, but we did go with this because we did 4 times. We had 4 zombies for each. We did 8. So we did 8 characters or 8 zombies we killed. So every time we killed them, we had to roll the dice, and if we didn't roll at least a 4, then it didn't count toward our 8. They still died, but they didn't get. Apparently we didn't transport them back or something. Is my guess. Instead, it's a short game. It was a pretty short game. I think we probably played, including the setup time and everything, it was probably less than an hour. So that's good. And we hadn't played it before, so you have a whole bunch of these scenarios: 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's at least 10. I think there's some other ones, some other places, because I got 2 shorts, 3 shorts, 4 shorts, 5 shorts, 2 mediums, 3 mediums, and 2 long. That might be right. So each one of these is a different game. And you can play these multiple times, of course. Just because you beat it once doesn't mean you'll beat it again. That's just your conditions of victory. So then the other thing is, you've got these things you can come across. Now these are the crisis cards. So let me show you these. There's the crisis cards right here. There's a whole bunch of them, and I'm not going to go through all of them. But let's pick one here. Let's see what this one is. Raiders. So you have to have food equal to the number of non-exiled players that you've got. So in our case, we only had 2. So you need to discard 2 food. Apparently there's raiders, and they're going to take your food. Now, if you don't do that, then you fail. And then it says, if you fail, if you don't put 2, if you don't discard 2 foods for each, or number of food equal to the number of non-exiled players, then if able, each non-exiled player must randomly remove 1 card in their hand from the game, and you lose 1 morale. Now, I told you the morale started at 6 for our objective. So if it goes to 0, you lose the game, or if you run out of time. Here's another one. Strength of the Dead. You need to discard a fuel for the number of non-exiled players, and if you don't do that, remove all barricades from the colony. Add 10 zombies to the colony. That's nasty, because they can eventually come into the colony. If they come into the colony, break into the colony, I believe you lose the game also. So there's a lot of different ones in here. They're all different. They're all kind of cool. And you turn over one of these every turn. So every turn you're dealing with one of these crises where you got to find fuel, and you may or may not have it in your hand. And as the game goes on, you find that you have less and less of the things that you're supposed to have, and so you're basically screwed, to put it mildly. So I like this game a lot. Tonight with my son, we played. I was fortunate enough to have a truck driver on my draw. What happens is you draw, with 2, you draw 4 characters, and then you get to keep 3 of them. You have to put 1 back. And I had like a doctor and this truck driver, and had somebody else who she was some sort of, she was a police dispatcher, I believe. So she could go to the police station and get 2 cards. When you go there, you're searching for things. You get 2 items basically there, but they're 2 cards. And then those items, go into your deck. Now the things we didn't play with are a couple things tonight, and that is, normally when you play with more than 2, and this is a game for probably 5 or 6 players, normally when you play with more players, you can have a traitor. You don't have to, but you have a possibility of a traitor. You also have secret objectives. Well, a secret objective might be to make sure you have 3 food in your hand at the end of the game and 3 fuel, and make sure that, at least 2 people die, something like that. So there's 2 objectives to the game. One is you've got to meet your main objective. The main objective being you have to survive till the end of the game and do whatever it is you're supposed to do. But if you're a traitor, then you have your secret objective. So everybody has a secret objective. So they can sort of win the group game and then win their own individual game, I guess is one way to look at it. Or you can say, well, you survived, but nobody won if you didn't win your objective. There's a number of ways you can look at it. But certainly, to win both would be a coup. But the traitor, his role is to make sure you don't meet your main objective. And then he may have a secondary objective as well, like have 3 fuel in his hand at the end of the game or something. So he has two objectives that way. And there could be more than 1 traitor, potentially. Now, you have some options there. If somebody's doing some really goofy stuff, you can do what's called exile them, and you take a vote of the other players. It has to be unanimous, I believe. And then if they're exiled, they have to leave the compound, go off on their own, and they can still do stuff. I believe you can also try to kill them at that point. You can take a shotgun and try to shoot them and things like that. So interesting. We hadn't played with that dynamic yet, and it was fun enough just with the two of us trying to survive. Really liked it. Let me show you the board. Take it out of the plastic here and show you. And then the locations are separate from the board, the police station, all that other stuff. But so here is, the colony is what it's called. I kept searching for words like, whatever I was saying, your safe zone or something. It's the colony. And the colony looks like this. And here's where the zombies can enter. There's essentially 6 locations, and you start putting the zombies here. Let's say it said add 6 zombies. You put 1 here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's say it said add 10. You'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you step back over here, 7, 8, 9, 10. So these two right here, the zombies are always going to be more frequent here. These are the ones you want to try to keep clean. Your colonists go in here, and you could have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 20, 24 is total in the colony. You probably never get that many. And then you've got 3 zombies here. I think if you go over 3, they start killing people at if there's anybody at that location. So you don't really want that to happen. Here's your counters at the bottom for morale. Like we said, ours started at 6 and started to go down. And then our counter here, the most you're ever going to have is 10 rounds in a longer game. We started at 6 and we count down every turn. There's that waste pile. If that gets to 10, you start losing morale. Don't want that to happen. When there's a crisis, you play it here, and then you contribute into here where I see you have to have 2 fuel. You throw those cards away, basically. You don't get to use them. You got to throw them away. And then you flip them over at the end. Now, with 2 of us, of course, if that said, you had to have 2 fuel, we put 2 fuel in here. But if you were playing with 5 people, instead you had to have 5 fuel, and you put 5, you put them face down, and then at the end of the turn you flip them over to see if you have 5. Well, if someone's a traitor, they may not put fuel there. They may put junk in there or something else. So now you think you have it, and you flip over the 5th one or one of the ones, and it's not the fuel that you're supposed to have, because somebody at the board is a traitor. And that's the kind of thing you start to see. But you don't know who it is, and then you try to find out who it is. And some characters can look at other people's hand, that type of thing. So you can try to begin to figure out who the traitor might be by looking at their cards and from their actions. So that's the board, and then you put cards around the board, these different stacks. Some of them get stacked around the board. Thought it was really good. And then here's your player card, which everybody gets the same thing. There's some actions that don't require, like to move. You can just move from one location to another, but you have to roll the 12-sided die, like I said. Otherwise, you use action dice, you put them here, and you get 1, and then 1 for every person that you control. So at the start of the game, with 2 people, you control the 3 characters, so you get 4 dice to start the game. Now, if you add another character because you find somebody out there and it says add somebody to your group, then you can roll a 5th die, and so on and so forth. So you roll the dice at the start of your turn, and you put them on this square, however they're rolled. So if you get 2 3s and a 4 and a 5, you put those on here. And when I said before, you have to have like a 3 or above to attack, or they're talking about these action dice. So it depends on what you roll. You might not be able to do much, or you might have to do everything. And then this shows what happens. So my turn as a player, I reveal the crisis card for my particular turn. That's the stuff we have to try to avoid. Roll my action dice and put them on here. And then I take my turn over here, which is, I can either do stuff that requires one of those action die, like attack or search or build a barricade or clean some of the waste out or attract 2 zombies. Or I can play a card, do all this stuff here. That doesn't require any action dice. I can just do this stuff for free. Once I use a dice from here, I put it over on this side so I know I used it. So interesting game. We really had a blast with it, my son Aaron and I. Really enjoyed Dead of Winter. Played it for 2-player, and I can highly recommend it for 2. I can only imagine what it'd be like with more players. Just better. Obviously, it's going to get better. the more players you have to add into this. It might lengthen the time a little bit, but the turns went pretty quickly. So here, it's for ages 13 and up. Just from 2 to 5 players, 60 minutes to 120. Took us about an hour. There's a warning here on this, so this is why it's 13 years of age. It's not suitable for children under 36 months because of small parts, so that's not what I was thinking. There's another warning. I hadn't read that yet. There's another warning in the box that says that there are scenes of violence. There are some of the descriptions are violent or may have sexual natures or to them, but I think anybody over 13 can handle it. It's not, it's not an X-rated game by any means. There's your 12-sided die. Some of the counters that you use. If you get wounded, you put those on. Frostbite, you put one of those on your character card. You got your stand-ups that look just like your characters, and they get placed to wherever they're going. Here's your main area here, your compound, and then here's the various gas station and hospital. I can't tell what they are, but there are going to be zombies at some of these, and you're going to be at some of these trying to get stuff. And yeah, here's where the cards go. It really is a really well-structured game. Really enjoyed it. A lot of components with it, but simple really. The process was easy to follow. It didn't take us long to get the idea of what we were doing. I like that because it's a kind of game that has a lot of theme to it, and yet it's not going to take you a long time to learn this game. It's relatively simple, and made even easier by the video that somebody made on it. So I think between those two things, it's pretty good. I can't pause this. Why can't I pause this? At least I'll mute it. Okay. Watching television, I had to pause, and now I can't pause it. Apparently, I guess it's probably more than an hour pause. So anyway, all right, guys, that's it for Dead of Winter. Hope you enjoyed the brief overview of this and a little bit of talk about the game that Aaron and I played. And until the next time, Dean of Games, take care.